What's up, everyone?
Hey.
Welcome back to episode 20 of the Open Door podcast, which is kind of crazy because that means that we are like almost halfway through a year's worth, right?
Oh, we're past halfway. What is there, 32, 33 weeks in the year?
No.
How many is it?
52.
52? Oh,
Yeah.
Nope, not halfway.
I'm saying we're almost halfway because, right, 25 would be, so like that's
26
pretty crazy.
would be halfway, right? If it's 52 weeks.
So
where did I get 37 from?
I don't know, and I'm pretty sure you said 32, so I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, I'm wrong.
You are wrong, but that's okay.
That happens.
That's all right. So, again, fun story. We tried to record this yesterday, and it
Didn't work out.
Didn't happen. So, the baby had a meltdown again, you guys, and we're just going to kind of work through it. So, again, she is here, but we're just going to rock and roll with it. The interesting thing about a podcast, and maybe I know that you agree, but it's just, we did this when I started my platform, like just kind of trying to figure out like what people want to hear, what works, what doesn't work. And so we're kind of bouncing around doing different stuff right now.
Yeah.
And so we're just we'll do something completely different next week.
Until we settle on something that works and is also fun to do. And
yeah. And
okay. So yeah, baby's here. You just heard it. She was cold. She's not anymore. She's got her blanket. So we're settled in.
Until the next thing comes up.
Yep.
But because of that, we're just going to get rocking and rolling because who knows how long we really have of a baby that is willing to chill and hang out and play with her toys and watch her show. And we'll just kind of see how it goes.
Yeah. So off to random things I found in the news, the unnecessarily long named segment.
Yes, that is. Yes.
Which is still here. This one's pretty interesting. Okay, so couple goes to Africa on safari. Okay, husband and wife. They're a little bit older, but they don't know about nature because a hippopotamus.
No.
Yep, hippopotamus attacks.
No way.
So husband gets to watch his wife get pretty much crushed by a hippopotamus. And he's like, we didn't know it was dangerous. Let me just tell y'all, if you are planning to go to Africa, everything there wants to kill you, okay? I don't know, like, and the safari, they were on some sort of safari walk. Which,
here's the thing, I would never do that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, like, I know that there's a lot of people that do, and I'm sure it's really safe and in a lot of ways, and there's lots of protections. But for me, every single time I watch somebody on one of those, I think it's amazing. I do. How incredible. Like, I don't think I could ever do it.
I would do a safari walk. 100% would do it. But I would also analyze the situation, okay? Because I'm looking around, okay? If I'm doing a safari walk and I'm the slowest person in the safari walk, I ain't doing the safari walk.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
No, it doesn't. Because
I don't have to outrun a hippopotamus. I got to outrun apparently this guy's wife.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
You are so horrible.
So
I just don't, like, you see these people that pull up in this Jeep next to a bunch of lions, and I'm just like, no.
Yeah, I can see that going south in a lot of ways.
No, I don't trust animals that much. Yeah. None of them. I will say.
Or like the people that get like gored by bison at Yellowstone every year. They're like these are dangerous. And then every year someone's like trying to pet a bison and they get chucked by it.
So I went through Bear World a couple of years ago in Montana. I mean, a long time ago. Not a couple of years ago. It's been like 15 years.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
And obviously, it says, like, keep your windows up. Okay. People with their windows down. I'm not joking you. People were driving through bear country, whatever it's called, in Montana, with their windows down. And I was like, y'all don't care about your lives. Like, these are wild animals. Wild animals. They don't like you. Like, just because they are in this setting and they see people does not mean that they want to be your friend. I do want to say, though, that baby hippos, like baby hippo videos, adorable.
Adorable.
And honestly, big hippos, adorable.
No.
I think that they are.
Nope, nothing
one
cute about
time,
'em.
listen, there was this one time that we went to our local zoo. We don't have hippos at our zoo anymore in Utah, but we used to.
Mm-hmm.
And one time I went to, and I will remember this for the rest of my life. We went to the zoo, and the zookeepers wore green shirts.
Yeah.
You know, so my mom was wearing a green shirt, and this hippo sees my mom, bounces down the stairs into the water, literally just bouncing its way down, swims on over, and then puts its jaw flat against the wall right in front of my mom, and then opens its mouth like it's waiting for food. And my mom was like, what's happening? But then a zookeeper came and was like, oh, he's just waiting for you to feed him. And it was just adorable. Just adorable. However, they're terrifying.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrifying. What was the statistic? They could like break you in half just with 100%. One like.
Yeah, that's what happened to this dude.
Because it's like multiple tons worth of compression.
It's one of the like most ridiculous bite forces there is.
Yes, and actually, I want to say that in Africa, aren't they responsible for
more deaths than any other animal? Except for, I think the exception is the mosquito. I think hippopotamus is number one. So here these guys are like, oh, look, there's a hippo, which are extremely territorial. I'm just saying any animal that doesn't care about alligators or crocodiles in the water. Like if you are an animal. You are
right. So actually, no. The number one is called a puff adder. It's a snake.
No.
Yes, it's a snake. It is responsible for almost 32 human fatalities a year in Africa. Then the mosquito, then the hippo.
Mosquito's way more responsible for like hundreds. Whatever your list is wrong. Hundreds of thousands of people die from mosquitoes. It's on
African overland, whatever. It's like on an African site. Anyways, the mosquito, then the hippo, lions, crocodiles, buffalo, elephants, rhinoceros.
Yeah, no. It's mosquito. Puff adder is way down.
Who are you?
A specialist who's looked at this a lot.
You are not.
I have. Go to any other website besides the one that the 12-year-old created.
Stop that. It's definitely not.
Yeah.
It does say that worldwide, though, hippopotamuses are the most deadly, like, land animal.
Okay. And they live in the same place as the puff adder, but somehow...
The largest land animal. It's like classified in a group of like large animals. So when it comes to like, you know what I'm saying? Okay. So
yeah, just in case you didn't know, and you were going to Africa and you were like, I want to go pet a hippo. Don't. Okay. And if you do not sue the people that took you there. Okay?
Also, can you imagine being the person, like the tour guide, like, no, stop, come on, no, what are you doing? No, stop.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Just screaming.
Hey, like, don't do that.
Hey, you might want to not. I don't know.
Do not do that.
That is terrifying. And they're fast.
Yeah, they're way faster than you think they are. That's why I don't have to be faster than no hippo. I just got to be faster than the other person that's next to me. I'm doing an assessment because I got asthma. I can only be faster for so long. You know what I'm saying? So.
What if there's multiple hippos? That's the problem.
I ain't worried about multiple hippos.
I'm worried about a lot of things.
One hippo.
No, I don't like it. I don't like any of it. I don't like it at all.
And then, yeah, it's just so that happened. Granted, I feel bad for the guy because imagine
that would be the most
traumatizing
experience of your life. Oh my gosh, Bedford, stop!
That's what happened.
I know, but no, we don't know. Yucky.
Yeah, I would be devastated.
Honestly, the trauma. Unreal.
Devastated.
Unreal. Here's the thing. So Bedford follows this account on Instagram called Nature is Metal.
Yeah, it's so good.
He loves, it's essentially just like National Geographic type content, but it's like, not really.
Because National Geographic will get all the way to the kill, and then it'll cut, and then it'll come back, and the animal will be eating them.
Kind of. Yeah. I don't know. I've seen it. Anyways, it's like the hunt stuff. And then, but this one is like they're eating the animal and the animal's not dead. And I don't handle that kind of stuff very well. However, I don't mind, like there's been videos where like a crocodile will be hunting something and then the next thing you know, the hippo is getting the crocodile because that's like the only animal that a crocodile is genuinely afraid of once they're in the water.
Oh yeah.
Ugh, so scary.
Yeah. They're terrifying. You do not want to be you don't want to mess with like crocodiles. Everyone's like, oh, I'm scared of the crocodile. Well, be afraid of the thing that's not afraid of the crocodile.
Well, but I think too, it's because crocodiles have a crazy bite, like
they do have a ridiculous bite force, which is less than the hippo.
But they can't chew. Like once their mouth is closed, it has to, if it opens again, like their whole jaw opens, right? They can't keep their mouth shut and chew at the same time.
Most animals can't.
So
I guess that's not true.
No.
Yeah.
No. And so that's actually, I mean, we have a child, Jax, who when he was little was like obsessed with animals in general. And he would read all of these animal books. So I have all these weird animal facts. But that's like the one biggest weakness within the like dangerous animal community is a crocodile can't bite and then chew.
Well, here's the weakness. Are you ready for this? Because I looked up this. Okay. This is how Crocodile Dundee lived for so long. Okay. Crocodiles have a ridiculous bite force,
but can't open,
but don't have a very strong open force. So you could actually hold a crocodile shut like this.
But that's what I'm saying is that it's like,
as long as it's closed, you good.
So between that, like, but that's exactly why it's like for a crocodile, it's like once they're shut, they're just shut because they're like, I can't. First of all, once my mouth opens,
and then they have to do the death twist to get to
No,
but like a hippo. There's a reason why there wasn't no Hippo Dundee. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sure that there's someone
there is
out there
no Hippo
that loves
Dundee.
Like has a bunch of hippos in like a sanctuary.
Animals don't be liking
something.
us like that.
I know. I mean, we could talk about this forever. Like the people that have wild animals as pets and they've like domesticated them, but then they end up turning on them. Like that lady that had an orangutan.
That's my
and it like
thing
ripped
ever.
off her face.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's just life happening at exactly the way it should.
Yeah.
You just put it off for long enough, and then all of a sudden, orangutan was like, you know what? I don't want to be playing this game no more.
No.
I want to be free. Peace out, Helen.
Helen.
I don't know her name.
Of course not. I don't think anybody does.
Yeah. I'm sure actually we could Google that.
Well, yes, you could look it up, but nobody off of the top of their head, aside from her family and friends,
There's a 74% chance her name is Helen. You look it up right now, it's going to be Helen.
I don't think that it is, but I'll try.
It's a solid guess. Oh, I'm so excited right now. That potentially her sister's name is Helen.
It's Charla.
What?
Or Charla. Charla. Nash.
Ain't no Helen.
And it's a chimpanzee, actually, that ripped off her face.
Oh, yeah. Orangutans, they seem to be nicer, but I still don't trust
come on. No, none of them are nicer.
Orangutans seem to be like just wise.
Are you just getting this from like Planet of the Apes?
I am getting it from Planet of the
Apes. Orangutan is like chill and
he's chill. He's cool.
Yeah,
he smokes the reefer. That's why orangutans look like they smoke reefer,
and they're cute. I mean, okay, so I guess we're just going down this road for a second. So here's a story. One time, Bedford and I go to the zoo.
No. Oh gosh.
Well, actually, let's rewind. Bedford went to the zoo on a date with someone else before he ever met me, which I'm angry about. And he shows me this video. Well, we go to the zoo later and he's like, I don't want to go in there, like in this like orangutan
exhibit.
Oh yeah, a gorilla exhibit. It's like a silverback gorilla. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because I came here one time on a date and it tried to attack me. And I was like, okay, like give me a break. He's like, no, I'm serious. So they pull up this video that they have on Facebook. I have it somewhere. Mm-hmm. And they pull up this video that was on Facebook. First of all, the girl that he went on a date with, she is not listening to this.
That is the girl that Jerome went on a date with.
Listen, she
is
I'm trying to be nice
and sweet,
but the whole time she was like, oh my gosh, are you looking at him? Because the gorilla is getting agitated and you can see that he's getting agitated. So he's kind of like starting to scratch and he's like moving his hands really fast. And then he starts like hitting his chest, but he hasn't actually moved. He's just sitting in place, like hitting his chest.
He's kind of looking, but he's kind of not. Like
you can just tell he's agitated. And she's angry. Like, oh my gosh, are you what? Oh my gosh. She
sounds like a white chick.
It's hard to listen to.
Yeah,
so
tough.
anyways, but all of a sudden the gorilla flies at the glass. When I say flies, I mean he goes from sitting to launches himself and hits the glass with both of his hands, and they all like jump backwards. So anyways, later we go in and this gorilla starts getting like irritated that Bedford is in there. And I was like, no freaking way. Well, just so happened that there was a worker there that was feeding the orangutans next door. And we were talking to her about it. And she was like, it's definitely a thing. Like, she was like, no, like, because Bedford is like, his build is very intimidating, right? So she was like black males that are built like you are very intimidating for them.
I was pretty big back then.
He still is.
I'm not big anymore.
Okay.
But just I used to be huge. I used to be like 230 pounds solid muscle. And he seemed to have been threatened by that.
Even though he shouldn't have been.
By him being threatened because he had 300 pounds on me.
Yeah, it was, but and no lie, every time that gorilla is just like,
he had it
this
out
dude
for me.
Again.
I was like, if anything ever happens and that guy gets out, he's coming to my house. He finna tear up.
Good times.
No.
Good times. Every time we go to the zoo, I show people that video.
I kid you not. I have never been frightened at the zoo. I was like, that cannot get out.
And then he ran.
No, I was like, it hit the window. I was like, that was scary. And I was like, good thing we've got tempered glass. It's what, 1.5 inches thick or whatever it is. Like, but if that gets out, I'm hosed. Because he was fast.
And so strong.
And like, strong.
His hand is like as big as your face.
Yeah, and he didn't care about his face. Like, he launched his whole body at this window.
I wonder if I can find the clip and we can drop it into the video.
We can. It was not good. Holy cow. And I was like, I don't think I could outrun an orangutan. I'm not going to lie to you.
Well, it's a gorilla, but no, I don't think I could outrun anything. No.
There's nothing I can, like a sloth.
Yeah, but I don't think you want to. I think you want to cuddle a sloth.
No, I'd kick it.
Stop. What is wrong with you? You can't say that.
If it was attacking me?
But it's not. Sloths just want to cuddle you.
They do not want to cuddle
Sloths
anything.
don't attack anything.
This is the type of thing that gets people killed.
No.
Nothing wants to cuddle.
Yeah, they do.
Nope.
Yeah, they do.
Nothing wants to cuddle. Cuddle free. The wild is not filled with cuddlers. The wild is filled with savages.
Okay. All right.
That's it.
Okay. Well, we can move into the final section then.
Let's do it.
Of talking to your kids about race. And this is actually, I mean, we talked a lot about things that could be applicable to this age group last week, right? But this is kind of the age we're doing 14 to 18, right? So this is kind of the age where you're prepping your kids to like really go out into the world on their own and understand racism and understand what it means to be like an ally and to, stand up for people that may, because like prior till now, we've kind of just said like, it's our job as parents to set a good example for our kids and stand up for what we know is right. And, but now we're reaching an age where our kids are getting cars and, Jax is almost 14. So we'll take him to the movies with his friends or the mall and just drop him off and then we'll go pick him up later. So your kids have entered an age where they are experiencing life with other adults and other, teenagers.
Other teens.
Yeah, that are outside of your supervision and control, that is outside of a school, right? So there's no teachers, there's no, and so now we are really needing to talk to our kids about what that looks like out in the world as an adult, right? Yeah, that's kind of what we're prepping them for. So, the first thing that I thought of I think that the first example that I'll share, and we've talked about this before, but, and we'll talk a little bit more about Blackface as we go into this, but, every Halloween, somebody paints themselves with blackface, right? And, there's a couple of different formats. Like some people are like transformative makeup artists, right? So they'll transform themselves into like The Rock or whatever. Or Kobe Bryant. But then you also just have kids or adults that are just think that it's, funny to do it that way, right? So a couple of years ago, we had one that was like at a Walmart very close to our home where a bunch of teenagers dressed up in blackface. However, they were cops and robbers. The cops were white And the robbers or the criminals were the ones that were in blackface, right? They were walking through a Walmart and a black woman had stopped them and she had said, like, do you realize how offensive this is? Like, this is incredibly offensive. Do you recognize that?
Yeah.
Like,
and then they got offended about how
they started laughing and like, she was like, you guys are laughing and I'm trying to tell you.
This is not good.
Yeah. Like, how this might affect your future. Right? Like, and she's saying this, like, so then she starts recording and she's like, this could impact college. This could impact the rest of your lives, like making decisions like this. This is super wrong because it's not just like, oh, well, I wanted to dress up as Michael Jackson and I didn't know better.
Yeah,
it's
they were painting a very negative picture with, it's not even like subliminal rhetoric. There is full on, like, this is the story we're telling.
Right. And so I feel like very understandably, I was very upset by it because I had been in a Walmart with my kids, not the same one, but close by. I had been in a Walmart with my children earlier that day. And I just kept thinking to myself, if my children saw that, especially Riker, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because at the time he's 9 or almost 9. And what kind of questions or like is he going to have? And how do I answer those questions? And what is that teaching him about how the world views him? And so I got upset about it and we started talking about it online. And one of the things that people, there was very like a large array of opinions. Some people were like, oh, well, their parents knew and they're learning this at home. And then some people were like, they probably just didn't know, right? And I think, like, where do you think the line is there? And like, what do you think the majority of that is? Like, in your honest opinion, in that situation, if you had to guess, do you think that their parents knew?
I think no, I don't think their parents knew that they were doing that.
Yeah.
Because I think their parents would definitely be like, but I know for a fact their parents, any of their parents are really doing anything positive.
Sure. And because obviously they didn't have the conversation. Blanche,
there was like 8 kids or 6 kids or something like that. They were all part of this. 8 homes right there are not a safe place for my kids. All 8.
100%.
And so I can definitely say that. Now, I don't know that they would want their kids to go out and do what they did. And I don't think all of the parents or maybe even any of the parents were aware that that's what was happening.
Sure.
In full honesty. But at the end of the day, like, not a safe space.
No. And I agree because, I mean, that's again what I was just saying is like they now have their own cars. They have their own, and people were like, oh, they would have had to drive them to the store. I'm like, no, they wouldn't, right? Like they have their own cars. If they don't have their own cars, they know somebody older than them that has a car.
Or a bike or whatever.
Right. Like Jax rides around on his
electric scooter
all summer long. Yeah. But they totally could have just been like. That's the age gap
right there. I said bike. They don't be using bikes.
I know. I mean, kind of. Riker uses his bike.
Yeah, but he's 13, 14. They're like, no way am I going to just pedal like a peasant.
I'd rather walk. And so, but that's the thing is it's like all they know, I mean, is that their kids are going out with their friends and for Halloween.
Yep.
And that's all they, it's like, but you can, so is it taught? No. Right. But was it prevented? No.
And I will go as far to say that there was definitely stuff in the home that allowed the kids to even think that was okay. But I wouldn't even say they weren't taught, but maybe it was taught, honestly. I don't know.
And that's the thing is you never know, which is why it's not safe, right? For people of color or our children, our family, or really anybody, because you don't want that like being put onto your children. So maybe it was taught, and you can kind of go back to some of the episodes that we've done before where it's like, maybe it was as simple as so-and-so makes these jokes all the time. And my parents have never said like, hey, that's not appropriate.
Yeah.
And so because of that, even though their parents might not be like overtly racist, right? But the lack of correction, the lack of like, hey, that's not okay. Or even getting in the car with your kids later and saying, you know what, this person said this, and I want you to know that that was super wrong. We don't talk like that. That's not right. The lack of those conversations could totally lead a child or a teenager to think why would my parents be mad about this? They weren't mad when so-and-so made a joke about black people being in prison, right? Like, that's not...
So they had to learn the hard way. Like, some of them did lose scholarships. Some of them lost, like, they were high level, I think, motocross athletes, soccer athletes as well. Yep. Kicked off of teams, lost sponsorships. Like, they had to learn real quick, hey, that's not a thing that's going to fly. And quite frankly, there were some people in our community, right, that were frustrated with the consequences. And it's like, no, you don't get to be frustrated. They were like,
these kids are getting their lives ruined. They didn't know better.
Why didn't they know better?
Sure.
Exactly.
Sure. And not only that, but at what point do our kids' feelings matter to you? Because you're hurting, like, especially, or what about the woman?
Yeah.
That was having to watch that, a full-grown black woman just doing her grocery shopping, and how that had to have made her feel, the trauma that she's probably had in her life, the experiences that she has had, and then seeing that with her own two eyes and realizing
that it was okay and that nobody else stopped them and that
no one else said anything.
How long have they been in Walmart shopping and there's no security?
Nobody has, and like how that had to have made her feel. And so many people were up in arms because these kids were seeing the consequences of their actions, but nobody was caring. Not nobody, but like those people did not seem to care about how that had to have impacted other people, especially the woman that had, like, they were like, she had no right to record them. And I was like, is that really what we're worried about? Is that she recorded these kids
doing something they shouldn't have been doing?
Because guess what? As a black woman, if you go somewhere and you say this happened, a lot of people are going to be like, no, it didn't.
Yeah.
Because it's not real. So yes, I'm going to record it so that you believe what I say, because apparently if there's like no proof, it didn't happen. And like, but it was a huge conversational moment for people to be like, I'm talking to my kids today.
Yeah.
Right. But the other thing is, because the idea though that all like racism or all forms of racism, including racial bias, is fueled by a hate for someone is not right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not, people don't necessarily hate someone just because they have these biases, right? So as example of a bias that you can compare it to is selective hearing, right? So we often hear selective hearing used as a joke, right? So like, oh, my kid must have selective hearing.
Yeah.
We say that all the time. Like, oh, well, they don't hear me when I ask them to do their chores, but they heard what I said about so-and-so when I wasn't even talking to them, and then they said it to that person's face. That was great. Yeah. That type of a thing. But it, like, in reality, the concept of selective hearing implies that we focus our attention on an action or sound, specifically one that we want to hear, and it's often unintentional and causes the least discomfort for us. Okay. So when you look at that example of selective hearing being a bias, right, it's not necessarily that we hate everything else that people are saying. It's just that it's like, well, this is kind of what I want to pick from it, right? Yeah. And so it's the same with racial bias. It's not that you hate somebody. That you can take this back to earlier when we were talking about younger kids. And honestly, if you never have these conversations, it's just going to continue until your kids are older. It's never going to change. But if you don't talk to them about why people look different than them, then it's just like selective hearing. Like, they're just going to go to what they're comfortable with, what they understand, not because they hate anybody, but just because this is where their comfort is.
Yeah,
right?
That's fair.
And so, I think, that's why sometimes these kids do these things, because you have to ask yourself too, like, what has taught these kids that did the blackface, right? That black people are the criminals and white people are not. Like, where did they learn that, right?
And that's why I would say, though, the homes aren't a safe space, because I don't know.
Yeah.
Especially at their particular age, where that kind of rhetoric is not necessarily put out in media.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to come from somewhere, and it's not like you're not going to find that. You have to go search it out unless it's in your house.
I mean, I think that another thing, and we talk about this, so Bedford and I, in our church, we teach a teenage group.
Yep.
And we talk to them all the time about the use of social media, right? Because like Bedford and I didn't have that when we were growing up. And so how do you think social media impacts kids in terms of race and understanding now?
I think
because I kind of think it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, social media does a little bit of both, right? There has never been a better way and more normalized way for kids to get access to different kinds of communities from the safe haven of their home.
Yeah.
Right. So you got kids growing up and understanding about like you got a white kid in Utah knowing what it's like to be in Chicago. Yeah. And learning the dances and songs and things like that. And that's all from social media. But also, if you want to find something not so great, if you want to find something terrible, guess what? There's a social media group. There's a Reddit group. There's a Facebook group of just idiots doing stupid stuff. And they all found each other.
Right.
And then they could do their stupid things together.
Because I think that you can use social media as an example to say that there's no reason for you to be uneducated about race, right? Yeah. Because you could look at it and say, like, there's so much information available to you, and not even social media, but just access to the internet. Yeah. Right? Like, the ability to search, the ability, like, the things that you can access just from your phone. Like,
from your phone, from your home assistant, from like literally anywhere.
Yes. Like you can literally, I mean, kids could be at school and ask a question. Like how many times have we just used my phone just to research animal stuff in the last, like, I mean, even in this podcast, we've used it 3 times now already. Yeah, in 30 and so minutes. It's like, it's not that they don't have the information or access to the information. It's just they don't have the desire to ask the questions or have the knowledge. So you could say it that way. However, which is a blessing to be able to have that information. However, I think you can flip it as well to say that it could be leading them in the wrong direction, right? Yeah. Like it could be spewing information that is inaccurate, right? And then it leads them, like you look right now at conversations about DEI. And because that's a huge thing right now. Mm-hmm. And so for teenagers or even 18-year-olds, you know, obviously they're still teenagers, but they're now adults. For them to be seeing that information, especially from people, because it's like the internet is, or social media is giant Wikipedia. You can just say whatever you want. It doesn't even have to be true.
And there's no one to moderate it. That's the thing.
Correct.
Like nobody, like someone can become an expert whenever they want to, and then there's no moderation. And just because you have a following, now you can speak. And you can even speak with that one when you're in the comment section with it. You don't even need your own face on there.
I mean, years ago, and so in the 2020 election, right? Mm-hmm. Was it 2020? People would ask me who I was voting for because they were like, I don't know who to vote for. Who are you voting for? And I'm like, I don't know you. And I love you, right? Like I love our community. I love the platform that I have. However, when it comes to who I'm voting for, I don't care who another influencer is voting for. I don't care who another celebrity is voting for. I need to vote for who I think is the best.
And I think also, too, like at that point in life, we were and quite frankly, even still today, there are times where we're like, I'm not educated enough to know who the heck I'm voting for.
Correct.
Let alone tell you who to do it.
Well, it's so complicated.
Like, and there's so many things. First off, in America, you're like, this guy's an idiot and this person's an idiot, and we're losing both ways. Yeah. And so which idiot do I want to, and it sucks. It's the worst. Okay. So if you live in France and Germany, I know every 4 years, you just got to be giggling at our situation.
Well, honestly, everybody is watching us right now and they're terrified.
As they should be. We're terrified too. It's not a great time. But, do I know all the policies? Do I know everything? Do I take the time to do the research for myself? I can honestly say no. Therefore, I should never use the platform to tell you what to do because I don't even know. I haven't done the work myself.
And I think, this year more than any year, I have done so much more research. I've been so much more involved. I've been so much more because I'm like, but all of that to say that it's like, people take what I say online very seriously, way more seriously than they should sometimes. Like I love to, chat and tell you what works for me and how, what works for our family, but that's never gospel for everybody. And so when, our kids are online and people are talking about DEI and they can just say whatever they want, or they can talk about racism, they can just say whatever they want. That's confusing for our kids. And if it's a creator or an influencer or someone that our children respect and care about, like that is going to matter. And I kind of want to use that to go into the next piece of this. So, there was a study that was done, where, let me go back a little bit. So what they did is they sat students down, and they said, in this age range, okay, and they showed them a group of lines, A, B, and C, and none of the lines were the same.
Okay.
Like
length.
Yeah.
Thickness.
It looks like a bar. It's like a
barcode.
Bar graph.
Oh, right? Bar graph. All right. We're here.
So it's like an A, B, C line, and none of the lines are the same length, right? But they have these test subjects in with these students that come in, and they tell them that two of the lines are the same, right? They have kids in the room that are saying like, oh, it's these two on purpose. So they have, they've implanted some moles.
Correct. And these moles are trying to convince these subjects that two of the lines are the same, even though they're
not even close.
The same.
Not even close. Like, it's not even close. It's not like it's like a little bit, and so you can kind of justify it. Not even close. Like a really short one, a really long one, and one in the middle. Okay. Now I'm going to read you the results. Okay. On average, about 1/3, 32% of the participants who were placed in this situation went along and conformed with the clearly incorrect majority on the critical trials. So 32% of the kids that participated in the trials just said, yeah, sure, yep, that's right. That's the right thing.
We should do that with our kids.
Remember, Jax did it in his classroom that one day?
I don't remember.
Okay, so then here's the next thing. Over the 12 critical trials, about 75 participants conformed at least once. So they did the test multiple times. And they just switched the lines around. 25% of participants never conformed. In the control group, with no pressure to conform, less than 1% of the participants gave the wrong answer.
Interesting. So what you're saying is people will conform to do the wrong thing just because a lot of other people are doing it.
Correct. Especially for kids that are trying to fit in, and they're trying to have friends, and they're trying to, they want to feel like people, they don't want to be embarrassed. They want to be included. They don't want to get left out. They don't want to. So in a group where it was controlled and there were participants that were the majority. So it's not like there was 10 kids and only 2 of them were saying, oh, this is right.
Essentially, there's 3 people in the room. 2 people get it wrong on purpose.
Correct. Yep. And so 75% of the time, kids are like, yeah.
Well, didn't you say it was like they changed it at least 75% of the kids changed it at least once? They
said the wrong thing at least once, right? And then 25% never did. So that means that my child, out of 12 times, because it was 12 rounds, right, has a 75% chance of at least one time, right? Just saying, sure, yeah, I'll do it. Or, yeah, you're right. Just because they want to fit in. Just because they're scared of saying the wrong thing. Because they know it's wrong. They're not dumb. When you look at the graph, it's like, no, that is 100% inaccurate. There's not even a small chance that you are right. But they do it anyway.
Interesting.
And so the problem is what's that one time, right? Because they said at least once.
Yeah.
In the 12 rounds, at least once. It could have been all 12 for some students. So even if it's at least one time, because I mean, my kid's running into things that he has to say whether it's right or wrong all the time. Hundreds of times, thousands of times in a lifetime, right? Yeah. Not just 12. So what things is he picking?
To stand on.
Yeah. And what have I taught at home to make it so that he knows just how wrong it is? We can go back to the example with Riker, talking about sex with Riker. Like, because he understood what it was, that was no longer the thing. That wasn't the one. He was not talking about it anymore. So if you're talking to your kids about, racism and blackface and things that we see in the news, like George Floyd, if you're having those conversations with your kids, then maybe that can just, nope, this isn't the one. I'm not going to conform here. Right?
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know. Like,
That's a very interesting thought there. it makes me actually think to myself, like, how often would I stand on business?
Yeah, especially on something serious.
On something serious. Because I know, like, in the workplace, there's been plenty of times where I've been like, that ain't right. Quite frankly, that's why I got fired from the last place.
Yes.
So I was like, no.
Yes, this is wrong, right?
And it was like, that is clearly what we are not going to do, because there was promises made that we had no business making nor intentions of fulfilling.
Like, you guys are trying to be shady, and this isn't something
I'll
that
be lying
I want.
straight through your teeth. And I'm like on the screen, like, you know, in the Zoom call, like, yo, I know we talked about not doing this. But like, so but also there's been plenty of times where I think that I would be like, would I be better off just to roll?
Yeah.
Instead of, it's interesting. Like, it's something that not only should we think about it, like, specifically with race and teaching our kids, but I wonder if, we probably ought to be thinking about this at a macro level with everything. Everything. How often are we going to stand on business and do the right thing?
Every time. Yeah.
We should be every time. Yeah. It ain't every time for me.
The goal should be every time, right? And I think, so it's interesting because I relate to this in an interesting way. Like, and I say this, I don't think anybody's going to listen to this and be like, oh, really? But I was really popular my 5th and 6th grade year.
Fifth and sixth, okay.
Yes.
Right.
When I was in elementary school.
Okay. Easy.
I had lots of friends. Mm-hmm. I liked all the boys. All the boys liked me. It was really great.
Yeah. Okay. Now, is this before the haircut or after the haircut?
This was Bedford. The haircut was in like 1st grade. Leave me alone. Okay. This is when it all grew out into about shoulder length hair.
Okay. Okay. Because I'll put the haircut up here so you can see it.
Yeah. No, we've already seen enough of the haircut. So, Mom, she's the worst. Okay. So I go from elementary thinking that I'm just like
the bee's knees.
Yeah. I've got all the friends. I am, I felt included, all the things. And I go into middle school and I'm like a nobody, okay, for myself, because now I'm walking around with 4 times the amount of kids that I had before, right? And because now I'm a 7th grader, so I'm on the bottom of the totem pole anyways, and because, like, when you're a kindergartner or 1st grader, you're not looking at the 6th graders and you're like, man, she's so cool. You do not care.
Okay? Yeah, you're just happy to be.
Yeah, Mimi's
first
not
off,
looking,
you want to go home and get snacks. That's pretty
you
want
to go to recess. Yeah, okay.
You're trying to survive.
But like in middle school, you are a 7th grader looking at the 9th grade girls and you're like, she's so cool, right? And then again, sophomore to senior, it's very. So I'm a 7th grader now, and I have. Some of my elementary friends went to different schools. So now I have a very select amount of friends. All the boys have now been introduced to these like beautiful girls that are like new and came from a different school. And I'm feeling all kinds of ways. Like, I'm feeling really lonely and left out. And there were a lot of things that I mean, not horrible things, but there were definitely things that I could have done better or choices that I could have made that I know. So I start getting invited by this like popular group of girls to come to hang out. Yeah. And there were a lot of things that happened that I probably should have said, no, this isn't a good idea, or this isn't for me. But I did it anyway because I didn't want to have no friends. Yeah. Like, it was so lonely. And so it's really easy for our kids to say, like, I'm just going to go with it, because what's going to happen if I say no? And how hard is it to tell our kids, like, you should rather be alone than be on the wrong side of something?
That's true.
That's really hard. How do you justify that to your kids, I
don't know. That's tough, because that was not my experience.
Yeah, well, you were cool the whole time.
I wouldn't even say that was cool. I was a novelty. I was a black kid in Utah. Yeah. So, like, I had more friends than I even cared to have. Yeah. Like, quite frankly. And still to this day, I think I'm connected to more people simply because I'm different than most. Sure. And so that is an interesting perspective, and hopefully maybe that my experience will be a little bit more similar to what I guess the majority of our kids will experience. I'm interested to see how Jax kind of goes through it. Yeah. Because he went through stage 1 of that. Yeah. And stage 2 is coming quickly. In fact, it's this year, ain't it?
He goes into high school next No, he'll go into his 9th grade year next year, and then he'll go into high school. You know, the nice thing for Jax is that, and this is something that I think everybody should encourage their kids to do. Bedford made this really a huge, do you want to say a huge priority for your kids is to have like a really solid group of friends.
Yeah.
And why?
Oh, you will be raised by the 10 parents of the 10 kids that you have, right? Sure. 10 closest friends that you have, or if it's 5
and
or 4
almost or raised by those friends.
Yeah, you're raised like, and so for me, I grew up with 8 to 10 of my closest friends, and even still to this day, I don't talk to them every day. I know a few of them talk to each other every day still, but even still to this day, like when I see their parents, I hug them. They look at me as their son. They look at my kids as their grandkids when I see their parents. And quite frankly, all of us that kind of stuck together were led by 1 or 2 that were really, really good at making decisions. And I was not one of them. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I don't think I was a leader in the great decision-making team. I was probably a leader in the not great decision-making team, but it kept us balanced, and that was important. But balance, we would have been overly good.
Got it.
And now we were medium good.
Got it.
Which is great. But all of us wound up pulling each other up and through. And so that, like, quite frankly, there was never ever a time where I was like, I need to do this to be cool. Because it was like,
the people I'm hanging out with aren't doing it.
People I'm hanging out with, quite frankly, I could be like, nah, screw you, Josh. I'm not doing that. And then, you know, and then he would still hang out with me because that's how close we were. Like, I've known him for 5 years. I'd be like, I'm not doing that, you idiot. I'm not doing, you know. And
why are you doing it?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden everybody's making fun of Josh because he's doing something.
Or we would legit go separate ways.
Yeah.
And then just come hang out. That happened. And so the fact that I never had to reach.
Yeah.
I never felt, which is a blessing.
And I think that Jax has that.
And I think Jax has that. Jax will never have to reach. He's got his 5 core friends, 4, you know, a few of them.
Yeah.
That are all, you know, really good. They're being raised, you know, we're confident in the parents that they're all respectful.
They're kind. Kids, they really care about each other. You know,
and they do make mistakes, and they are clowns.
Oh my gosh,
they're not perfect
they're
in any way, shape,
13-year-old boys.
Like they're.
But you know, Jax had an experience at school in 6th grade where you know some kids were really, really horrible to him. And after school, I got calls from all the moms.
Yep.
Every single one of his friends' moms was like, "Oh my gosh, is Jax okay?" Because they all went home and said, "Mom, guess what happened to Jax today?" And
they all stood for him.
Yes, they all stood right by him. Made sure that he felt like he had a friend, right? Yep. And not all kids have that. Yep. And so I worry about that with Riker a lot.
I know for a fact he doesn't have it.
He doesn't.
He has 2 or 3 core friends. They do not
go to his school.
Go to his school. I think his very best friend on God's green earth doesn't go to his school.
Nope.
Now the nice thing is he is so aloof and so reserved that everyone thinks he's the cool kid.
They just think that he's like withholding from them.
Yeah, they think that they have to earn his right to be cool with him, but he like doesn't know that he's cool. He
just doesn't know how to make friends.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to talk to nobody. So like we go to school, parent teacher conference, and people are like, "Hey, Rye."
Hey, Riker.
Nervous,
hey, Riker.
And he just doesn't know how to talk to people.
So he's like, hi. He doesn't know how to make eye contact.
He's got this weird allure to him, which pisses me off. But like,
he's lucky he's got it.
He's lucky he's got it because like,
otherwise,
people are drawn to him, and he does not.
Friends.
He is not very good at reciprocating that.
Well, the last thing that I wanted to talk about is, and I think I want a large part of this to be your perspective because, the last thing I want to talk about is when big things happen in the news, like Ahmaud Arbery or specifically George Floyd. Like, what was your experience after George Floyd as a black man?
Oh, Ahmaud Arbery was a little bit different. George Floyd, I got 150 phone calls.
That's literally not an exaggeration.
Yeah, no, it was literally like maybe 137.6, but like it was lots of phone calls, which I appreciated. There was a lot of people trying to do the right thing, and everyone was kind of shocked.
What did those phone calls look like, though?
It's like, I can't believe that this is the experience, and I didn't know, and you know, I just wanted to call in and check on you, and I appreciated it, but at the same time, I was like, y'all, this is new. Mm-hmm. Like, ain't no way this is new. Because for me, I was like, oh, here we go again, right?
Yeah.
Like, we'll be doing this again next year, which we did. But I appreciated it. It was kind of unique, put me in a weird spot because all of a sudden I'm getting invited to all these dinners and stuff that I'm not going to because like I already have my circle and
I wasn't invited before.
I just don't need 150 different dinners.
People here's the thing. I think it's super thoughtful.
It was thoughtful.
It was so thoughtful, right? And I think that it's also, I just want to say this, like fully transparent as a white individual. We were at that time being told like, diversify your circles, be supportive, be an ally. And you're kind of like, what does that look like? What does being an ally mean? Like, I don't even know what that means. I know one black person, okay? Like, it's the only black person I know. And you're telling me to be an ally. And in my mind, an ally means being supportive. And so I gotta do something, right? And we're all kind of like fumbling because for a lot of people, that was the first time they watched it happen on TV. Like, he was murdered on TV.
Yep.
Like, and for a lot of people, that was very, very shocking. That was like their first experience. It was very eye-opening. Yeah, baby. All right, here comes Sloan, but we're going to keep chatting because we're about done. So, I think that was like a very difficult experience for white people to know what to do. Yeah. Does that make sense? Like, what is the right answer? What am I supposed to do to be supportive? Because especially having a platform online during that time, it was so difficult because you had so many people that were like, oh, all these white influencers not saying anything. Right. Yeah. And then white influencers would say something and then they'd be like, but not that, like, don't say that. Yeah. And it was really difficult to figure out how to show up appropriately. Yeah. We also had a lot of people like in our neighborhood that would like come knock on the door and be like, hey, I just wanted to see like what your thoughts are, how you're feeling. Like, people needed Bedford to explain to them like racism and what he was feeling and how that was,
or just even like, hey, I just need your perspective because is this shocking to you? I think that was a lot of questions. I was like, no. Like, are you serious? I was like, no.
Well, I specifically remember asking you, like, do you feel scared to leave the house? And what did you say?
I was like, no.
He said, not any more than I always have.
Like,
and I cried.
That's true. I do remember that. She was like, are you scared now? I was like, why would I be scared now?
Yeah. He was like, I'm not any more afraid. Because I was like, in my mind, obviously, we had experienced problems, right? We had experienced issues. We had seen racist behavior. But like, that was so catastrophic. Like, that I was like, tensions are going to be so high now. Like, everybody's going to be on red alert. The police are going to be terrified, right? So my question for you is, how would you advise white parents to approach, because with George Floyd, so I did a live segment with Nightline about George Floyd. Yep. And there were some people, there was me and 3 other women, and some women were like, yeah, I'm showing my kids the clip of George Floyd. And then there were some women that were like, absolutely not. And it was a mix of black women and white women. I was the only white woman on the segment, I want to say. No, there were 2 of us. No, there was 2. 2 white women, 2 black women. And one of the white women said, yes, I'm showing my kids. One of the black women said, yes, I'm showing my kids. And then myself and the other one were like, our kids, I don't think that my children are ready for that. That's not how I would like to approach it. Now, neither is right or wrong. But everybody approached it a little bit different. Right. But for older kids, like for teenagers going into adulthood, and this isn't about whether or not you chose to show them the clip, but how would you suggest when big things like that happen and it's on the news and it's on social media and we're seeing it everywhere and we know our kids are seeing it, what conversations would you recommend having with them?
I would recommend asking them as many questions as possible to help them understand how they feel about it. Yeah. Right? Because you could go in and try to, preach to your kids, quote unquote, right? Have that, preachy type conversation or that educational conversation. And I know for a lot of times for that kid, and including me when I was that age, they go gloss over. Yeah. But I would have a more question-based conversation about, hey, look, what is it that you understand? What's going on? How do you feel about it? Like, get a good understanding and make nudges of adjustments here and there where you see fit. Yeah. Because it's going to be different for every kid. I know I could have for all 5 of my kids, I would need 5 separate conversations.
Yes.
And it's not, yes, they are at different ages, but they're just different kids.
Yeah.
And some of my kids are darn near hardened criminals. And some of my kids are just so gentle. And
very.
And I know that I need to handle each situation separately.
Yeah.
Because obviously you don't want to taint your kids' positive outlook on the world before you have to.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love it for it to be sunshine and rainbows for as long as possible. But also, you just got to talk about it, though. It has to happen because they're going to hear about it and they're going to talk about it. They're going to generate opinions eventually. And you want to be in that room.
Yeah. I think that the word racism gets kind of like avoided because it's really like a harsh word and people aren't. But I think that it's very important to label racist behavior as racist behavior, especially with our children.
Oh, yeah. You got to call it the way it is.
This is racist behavior.
You have to do it. Like, whether, and maybe I was thinking from the lens of like, are you showing the video or are you not? Like, no, I'm not.
No, this I more so is like on a separate leaf.
But no, you need to be able to call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to do that with what they understand.
And it's been interesting for me because I think I've talked about this a little bit, but I've sat in a lot of discomfort from things that I have, read about and researched and learned because, and it's sad because it impacts my family.
Yeah.
And my life has completely changed. And this isn't about me, and that's not at all what I'm trying to say. But sometimes I think that it's really easy as a white individual to like lean away from it because it's really uncomfortable, because it requires me to say like, I've been so like shielded, right? Like I have been protected from all of these things that other people haven't been, simply because I'm a white individual. And like I've just been living my life blissfully unaware that that was happening. And it was right in front of my face this whole time, right? And it's very uncomfortable in some ways. But I think that, and I've had to I started doing that when I was 23, right?
Yeah.
And it was really hard to like rewrite certain belief systems, and because they were based on my experiences in life. And the sooner we can do that with our children, the less they will have to do that.
Yeah.
Like completely rewrite everything that they understood about human behavior, about, bias, about like all of the things that they will learn as they're growing. And so, we kind of give our children the opportunity to come in with a better understanding, and then they don't have to undo and redo.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyways,
that's it. That's all.
Yeah.
So that wraps up probably this segment. We'll move on to something new and exciting.
We'll try something else for some episodes and see how it goes, and just kind of hang out until we find a spot where everybody is, not everybody, but where people are feeling connected. And we're just fun.
Anyway, like, subscribe, comment. If there's any questions, additional, anything you want to learn, ask. We'll tell you. Like, we'll do it anytime. So we love doing this. It's so much fun. And that's it. That's all for this week. We've got to go on a Valentine's date. So got to go grab the kids and skedaddle. See ya. Can you say bye? Hit them with a bye. Nope. All right. We out.